Hello everyone, welcome back to the Shizen Hogo-Ku Zoo here on Planet Zoo in our franchise mode. Today we're bringing in two gift shops, and we're placing it on this big plot of land that we were going to talk about, what we were going to change in the last episode, but we ended up doing the monorail instead. So we wanted to fix this up. I know that we haven't done a habitat speed build in a while. We'll get back to that, I promise. That's going to be one of the next videos that come out. But right now, we need to fix up the front of our zoo, which we've been neglecting for quite some time. So therefore, we're fixing up this plot of land, and I promise you, it turns out very nicely at the end. So we bring in two gift shops, one being the little Momentum shop and the Looney Balloons shop. So we have two gift shops coming in, which will just give us more money. Not like that's an issue or anything. But one thing that I didn't really think about until like just recently is why do we have a balloon shop in a zoo, in Planet Zoo, when like balloons fly up in the sky, they pop, and then it lands in the environment where the animals breathe and eat and stuff like that. Always wonder why that was in the game, but nonetheless, we're just gonna go along with it, and we're gonna make sure we fix up this area. So we actually end up flattening out the land, and we build this little stone building. It's supposed to look old, it's not supposed to look new or anything like that. It's supposed to be kind of in the woods, and I'll show you what I mean once we actually get there. But it's going to have one nice little bench area for people to sit down at. It's going to have like a little garden area, but then after that we're going to surround it with a bunch of bamboo. And we don't use a ton of bamboo in this game. I know we've been using it like in almost every habitat for the most part. I think the only habitat we don't use it in is the Formosan bear habitat and the red panda habitat. And actually maybe the gharial habitat. So we do use it with the Bengal tigers and the giant pandas, I know that for sure. Nonetheless, we kind of enclose this area on a foundation, and that was kind of the whole purpose behind it, was to give the little patio almost like a foundation, so it didn't look like it was kind of misplaced. It looks like it was kind of meant to be there, but at the same time it's going to be surrounded by bamboo and a bunch of rocks. And we play with the rocks again. We try to finish up the little side areas of the Formosan bear habitat, which end up turning out really nicely. It was, once again, hard to make sure it wasn't repetitive, and it feels like that this pathway by the Formosan bear area is really just meant for guests to walk through, and it feels like they're walking through like some sort of rocky mountain area part, which was kind of the intention behind it. I'm not sure if it replicated very well, but at the end of this, it turned out really nicely. We had to make sure we hid the curbs to the pathing, so to make sure that it doesn't look like the path is actually on a bridge. So we try to make it seem like that was also just on land when it actually wasn't. We also do have that like little bear statue that we made in last episode. I don't know what I was doing with that, to be completely honest, but I kind of wanted to include something to where it's like, oh, by the way, the bears are over here type thing. But we don't really do too much with it in this episode, so let me know if you guys want me to keep that there. It's kind of supposed to be a centerpiece, but at the same time not a very good spot for it, so I may have to move it. And another big challenging part to this rock wall was that we came over to the building, and near the building we had the issue of making sure that the rock was flushed up against the building. Didn't look unnatural, but didn't look like completely natural at the same time. And it almost should look like that the building was built into the rock to a certain extent. And the biggest challenge about this also was that we had this back part to the building, which is right near the pathway. This building sinks right into the ground, and it was meant to do this, but I want to make sure we had it blend in properly toward the back. And I'll show you how I do it later. I end up throwing in some like rose bush and stuff like that, which I don't usually use in this game, but it was probably the best way to mask the area. I was trying to make it seem like it was a little overgrown, but not too overgrown, so it didn't really cover up the building as much. Now, just a little bit of real talk right here when I know I'm messing up with the rock and stuff like that and doing all that sort of stuff. But I want to have some real talk. The Katahdin Zoo was the first zoo on our series. It was not a finished series, and it will never be a finished series. I'm letting you know right now that I'm not going to be continuing that zoo. So for those who have stuck by me the whole entire time, thank you, number one. But number two, that zoo is going away. We're actually going to take out all the animals from that area, and we're going to bring them into our newer zoos. It was just a big mess. The landscaping was awful, and it was just one of those things where I was still learning Planet Zoo, and now I kind of got the hang of everything for the most part. So we're just going to kick that zoo completely out of the image, and we're going to focus more on the Serengeti Zoo, the Shizen Hogo-Ku Zoo, which is the zoo here, and the Machu Picchu Zoo, which we just started up, which is going to be one of our smaller zoos for our South American animals. But now we're bringing the bamboo, so enough talk about that. We can talk about it later. Right now, we have the bamboo coming in. I have an image here, and please let me know if you like it or not. We have bamboo coming in, and it's supposed to kind of go around the monorail. So the monorail is supposed to kind of go through like a woodsy journey type thing. The monorail is the whole idea that you're supposed to be going through habitats, you're supposed to be going through nature and stuff like that. Which is why we want to kind of hide it from the paths a little bit. It's going to be going over the pathing a little bit here and there. It's always going to be like that. But I don't want it to necessarily be seen by the guests on the ground paths, and I want to make sure that our monorail people aren't always looking at, all the paths and stuff like that. Let me know if you like that idea. We kind of surround it. We're going to get back to it here in just a moment, but I want to talk about this area over by the panda area. I end up taking out that panda eventually, and I end up doing something weird with the paths too. I wanted to kind of give like the panda like a little statue of some sort, but I didn't really plan out for it. Nonetheless, we end up removing the pathing, and we have to kind of fix it here and there. So because people keep getting stuck in like the middle of the path, no idea why. Big issue that I can't seem to figure out, and they seem to get stuck around other places in the park. But I think that Planet Zoo just has to update their stuff just to make sure that these people stop getting stuck in the middle of the paths. Back over to our little area where the monorail goes through, we bring in some more bamboo and we try to bring it over to that little bear statue. Big issue about this is that I wanted to make sure that we didn't have the bamboo going straight through like the monorail, like clipping through the monorail as it were to come by. So it was really difficult to do. The bamboo doesn't go straight up, it kind of spruces out toward the top a little bit, which has become a challenge in this part of the zoo. At the same time, once the monorail comes through the bamboo and it makes its way over to our little bear statue, whatever you want to call it, we actually have it so that it's kind of going just past that rock wall a little bit. I kind of had this image where you come through the woods and all of a sudden you kind of hit this mountainous area, and all of a sudden there's these rocks that your monorail is going through, which I thought was pretty neat. Next thing that we had to do is we really had to fix up the siding of the curbs and the paths and stuff like that. We also I forgot to mention this, we actually took the path that we kind of had sticking out last episode and we kind of just did this little round part right near this tree type of thing, just to kind of give the paths a little bit more of, indirect, routes and stuff like that. So if people wanted to go off to the side and kind of go through the gardens and stuff like that, they could. I added this tree in here just as a little marker. I didn't really end up adding any other plants there for now. I'll probably do it off camera. Nothing against you guys, just like one of those small little things that I'm going to spend a little bit more time on and not feel like I have to get rushed through it and stuff like that. These paths, though, with the curbs and the wood trimming, whatever you want to call it, we do have to go uphill with it, and I don't know if it works out very well for us, but it does go through the ground a little bit in certain parts, so what we end up doing is we end up raising it and kind of going along with it. I'll show you what I mean later. But we do come over toward the monorail part, and I want to explain why. We end up adding a fence because it looks like people can just walk underneath the monorail. I want it so that the monorail has like a maintenance path in there, which they kind of already have, so it's not like overgrown or anything like that. But I want to make sure our guests don't try to go over there and act as if like that's a nice, awesome place to go through, like a little nature walk. So we end up just blocking it off with this little fence here. It's not a very large fence at all, but it's kind of that little fence that kind of gives you the idea of like, oh, I'm not supposed to go over there. So we end up fixing that. We end up making sure like that's not an issue or anything like that. And after we go ahead and we fix up some more rock movements and stuff like that, we try to make it look a little bit more natural. I just spend way too much time on the rocks in general. But we end up bringing over signs for Looney Balloons and just a momentum. We want to make sure that we have signs for these places. So we want to try to figure out the best way to do this. Took me a hot minute to do it, but what I end up doing is I basically copy the same sort of technique I did over by our monorail station. We end up taking some nice concrete and we end up putting those big wooden columns at the end to kind of end it properly. I don't know the best way to put that, but it ends up working out very nicely. We end up adding in some nice little East Asia man-made stone just to kind of flush the pathing up a little bit as well. It was very difficult to try to fit it in here. We have a tree that's kind of in the way, debating if I should move that over or not. There's not a lot of plants in this area as well. Trying to figure out the best way to add this sign in. There's not enough room to put in like some gardening and stuff like that. Just gotta say, like, I wanted to add in a sign, doesn't mean that I added it in properly. So we end up doing that, nothing too big. We try to add in some lighting, couldn't figure that out. I'm probably gonna do something off camera to figure that out because I can't seem to figure out what on earth to do with that area. But just a little bit more about this area. We did finish it up. We end up adding in some more wood trimming and stuff like that. I didn't want to waste too much time on that. I don't want to bore you guys to death. I promise bigger projects are coming. I'm thinking about bringing in some awesome animals. I think we're going to move over to the Serengeti or the Machu Picchu Zoo again soon. We haven't done the Serengeti in a while, and we still got the South America pack, which brought us some awesome stuff that I kind of want to get back into. So we want to try to figure that out as well. Nonetheless, some visuals are going to come over toward the end. I promise you, we still have the visuals. That's not going anywhere. I want to make sure you guys kind of see the finished product. I end up doing a little bit more stuff with the building as well. So we end up adding in some lighting to the building and adding some more decorations to it so it doesn't look very plain and basic. But if you haven't subscribed already, be sure to subscribe. There are plenty of awesome things to see out there. I do have playlists as well, so if you want to catch up on the Shizen Hogo-Ku Zoo, you can do that as well. Just go over to my playlist area. We have plenty of zoos. We have all the zoos in a playlist, and we have them in individual playlists as well. But please like this video. It would really help support out the channel. I would really appreciate it from you guys. And not to mention, if you do leave any suggestions down below, I do want to incorporate it into our zoo. Please let me know, and I will respond to your comments. But other than that, I shall see you guys in the next episode. Enjoy these visuals. Goodbye.